Charleston White just lit up Shannon Sharpe in a rant so wild, it's got the internet buzzing. From calling him a sellout to exposing the $50 million trap that could end his career, Charleston didn't just talk, he went for the jugular. What really happened between Shannon and that OnlyFans model? Stick around, because the truth hits harder than anyone expected. Shannon Sharpe's legacy didn't just take a hit. It took a full-blown collapse when headlines broke that he was being sued for $50 million by a woman named Gabriela Zuniga, known online as Carly from OnlyFans. But this wasn't just some anonymous complaint buried on page 9 of a tabloid. This lawsuit came with weight. A 13-page civil filing, specific allegations, and the kind of legal firepower that instantly sends celebrity PR teams into panic mode. And what really threw everyone off? This wasn't about a past beef, a media feud, or even Shannon's now infamous Instagram Live meltdown from last year. This was someone new, a completely different woman, a brand new accusation with fresh details, suggesting that Shannon's controversies might not be a one-off, but part of a bigger, more dangerous pattern. Enter Tony Busby, the attorney leading the charge. And this guy isn't your average personal injury lawyer. He's the same legal shark who's gone after Jay-Z, Deshaun Watson, and Diddy, men with big names that have deep pockets and even deeper secrets. Busby's made a career out of targeting the most powerful, especially when the media spotlight is hot. So, when his name was attached to Shannon's case, people instantly knew this wasn't some tabloid scandal that would blow over in a week. This was serious. Headlines started flying, Publicists scrambled. Shannon's fans were confused. And behind all the noise, one question echoed louder than anything. How did it come to this? That's when Charleston White entered the chat, and things got even messier. If there's one person who wasn't about to tiptoe around Shannon Sharpe's mess, it was Charleston White. The moment the lawsuit hit the internet, Charleston didn't wait. He went straight to social media and lit up the timeline with one of the most raw, unfiltered rants anyone had seen all year. And this wasn't just commentary, it was a full-on demolition job. Charleston didn't come to discuss, he came to drag. He mocked Shannon's entire situation, boiling it down to one brutal line that echoed across the internet.
How you at the gym and you let this 20-year-old, damn near teeny bopper, little old young white get you 50 mil? You offered a pink toe Peckerwood 10 million. Boy.
Charleston repeated that line like a chorus, each time adding more fire. He laughed, he yelled, he cursed. He made it sound like Shannon wasn't just careless, he was downright foolish. The way Charleston saw it, Shannon had spent years crafting this pristine image. The polished suits, the gym selfies, the clean interviews. But behind the image, weakness, vulnerability. A man who thought he was untouchable until he wasn't. And Charleston didn't stop at the lawsuit. He dragged Shannon's decision-making, painting him as a man who abandoned all common sense the moment clout took over. He even brought up an old interview where Shannon once said he refused to be alone with women in elevators to avoid misunderstandings. And now here he was, caught up with a young woman at the gym.
Me, I don't ride the elevator with single women. If a single woman is on the elevator, I gotta wait.
Wait, why don't you?
Sometimes the mention of impropriety is enough to sway people's opinion of somebody.
So if a single woman's gonna go into an elevator,
I'm not getting on it.
You all know better, Shannon. What shit is you talking? Like you say you won't even get on the elevator with a woman by yourself.
The contradiction was too juicy for Charleston to ignore. He wanted the world to know. This wasn't just a scandal, this was a fall from grace. And in his eyes, Shannon had no one to blame but himself. And the worst part? Charleston made it clear this wasn't just about one moment. It was about years of fakeness finally catching up to a man who thought he could outrun the truth. Charleston White didn't just wake up one day and decide to roast Shannon Sharpe out of nowhere. No, this wasn't random internet smoke. This was personal, and it had been simmering for a long time. According to Charleston, Shannon had been throwing shade for months, maybe even years. He claimed that Shannon made sly comments about him on his podcast, Club Shay Shay, and never missed a chance to throw subtle jabs. And Charleston, he noticed. Every single one. Charleston admitted that Shannon had good reason to be salty because he'd gone after football players hard in the past. Not just in passing, he openly mocked them. It didn't sit well with the sports community, especially not with someone like Shannon who built his reputation on hard work, discipline, and respect for the game. But Charleston didn't stop with the players. He turned his fire on Deion Sanders, one of Shannon's close friends and a beloved figure in the Black community. He called Dion the modern-day Bill Cosby, not in terms of scandal, but as someone pushed as the ideal, family-friendly role model, the safe black man, the acceptable one. And Shannon? In Charleston's eyes, he was part of that fake image too. A made-for-TV persona, polished, predictable, pleasant to white audiences. Charleston called it out like it was a Hollywood script. Those insults cut deeper than people realize, because Shannon didn't just idolize Dion, he admired the image, the respectability, the idea of being the good one. And Charleston bulldozed all of it in seconds. It wasn't just trash talk, it was a deliberate attack on everything Shannon had worked to build. His brand, his respect, his reputation. And for Charleston, that wasn't just fair game, it was payback. Charleston White wasn't just talking mess, he was making a statement. To him, Shannon Sharpe didn't just mess up, he sold out. He crossed over, he walked away from where he came from, thinking that trading authenticity for corporate polish would protect him. And Charleston, he never forgot, never forgave. It wasn't about football, it wasn't even about money, it was about identity. In his eyes, Shannon transformed from a real one, a guy from the South who made it out through talent and grit, into a symbol, a brand, a safe black man with tailored suits and catchphrases designed to be palatable for sponsors, networks, and viewers who only tolerate blackness if it's cleaned up and smiling. And Charleston made sure people understood just how much he resented that. He called himself the favorite uncle, the kind who doesn't get invited to red carpets, but always gets respect in the neighborhood. The one who knows the strip club owners, not the executives. The one who stays rooted while others chase the limelight.
I keep telling y'all, I'm the favorite uncle. I'm the uncle that they ain't got no dirt on me. They trying to throw dirt on me. They've been trying to do everything. Now, he kind of been hating on me a little bit. Now look at it. Hey, listen.
He claimed that Shannon, on the other hand, got too clean, too polished. And that's why, when things got messy, he didn't know how to survive it. Because the truth is, corporate protection is an illusion. The moment something goes wrong, those suits and sponsors scatter. And the same system that praised you yesterday is the one that'll crucify you today. That, Charleston argued, is what Shannon didn't see coming. He thought his fame was a shield, but Charleston saw it for what it really was, a ticking time bomb. And when it exploded, there was no one left to protect him. For Charleston, this wasn't just a scandal, it was the perfect example of what happens when you forget who you are trying to impress people who never really had your back. Behind the chaos, the memes, and Charleston White's roasting, there's still a lawsuit. And it's not some vague, half-baked accusation thrown together for clout. It's a well-organized, strategically written 13-page civil complaint, packed with enough detail to send any celebrity's legal team scrambling. Gabriela Zuniga, the woman at the center of it all, also known online as Carly from OnlyFans, claims that Shannon Sharpe crossed serious boundaries during a private encounter. But this wasn't a criminal charge. It was civil, which means Gabriela's not trying to get him locked up. She's trying to hit him where it hurts. His bank account, his brand, his legacy, that figure alone turned heads. It wasn't just the size of the demand, it was what it represented. This wasn't a hush-hush settlement or a quick payout for silence. This was war, legal, public, and personal. Then you look at who's backing her, and it gets even heavier. Tony Busby, the attorney representing Gabriela, isn't some small-time lawyer trying to build a name off a scandal. He's already made a name for himself going after powerful men with even more powerful connections. He was behind major lawsuits involving Deshaun Watson, and he's publicly clashed with figures like Jay-Z and Diddy. His track record, ruthless. His aim, always high. Charleston White made sure not to ignore that angle. He pointed it out with his usual sharpness, saying Busby's pattern wasn't a coincidence. But Charleston didn't let that sympathy ride too far. He reminded everyone that this wasn't the same woman from Shannon's earlier drama, the viral Instagram Live incident from last September, where another woman accused him of acting erratically and out of pocket. That means this wasn't an isolated situation. It was starting to look like a pattern, and whether true or not, public opinion doesn't always wait for proof. So while Shannon tries to fight this legally, Charleston's already decided in the streets. The damage is done, and it's only going to get worse from here. After days of silence, Shannon Sharpe finally spoke out. And when he did, it wasn't through a lawyer or a carefully filtered press release. He went straight to his audience, fans, followers, colleagues, with an emotional, serious-toned message.
To my family, friends, supporters, and colleagues, this is a shakedown.
I'm going to be open, transparent, and defend myself because this isn't right.
He denied everything, said the whole situation was orchestrated. He pointed fingers squarely at Tony Busby, claiming the attorney had a history of targeting powerful black men and weaponizing the media to build pressure around high-dollar settlements.
This is all being orchestrated by Tony Busby, who has targeted Jay-Z. Tony Busby targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of a sex tape that tries to make me look guilty.
Shannon insisted the encounter was consensual, took place during the day, at her invitation, and that any video being released had been manipulated to paint him in the worst possible light. And then came his strongest move yet, announcing he'd be filing a countersuit against Gabriella for defamation. In his words, he wasn't just going to defend himself, he was going to fight back. But Charleston White? He wasn't buying any of it. He saw Shannon's emotional video and tore into it like fresh meat. Charleston mocked Shannon for breaking his silence too late, for looking desperate, and worst of all, for trying to play the victim while still clinging to his corporate image. He laughed at the idea that Shannon thought releasing a few text messages and calling the lawsuit a shakedown would suddenly make the headlines disappear. He didn't let up. He hammered the idea that Shannon had no business even being in that position. With a 20-year-old woman from OnlyFans at the gym in sweatpants with no backup. Charleston painted the whole thing as reckless, not just for a celebrity, but for any grown man who knows how today's world works. And when Shannon claimed he'd turned down a settlement offer from Gabriella, allegedly $10 million, Charleston nearly exploded. In Charleston's mind, Shannon wasn't the strong, calculated man people thought he was. He was a public figure playing a private game, and now that it backfired, he was scrambling to spin it with PR. Now comes the Charleston philosophy, and it's chaotic, controversial, but thought-provoking. Charleston said it straight.
When you dealing with whole problems, you ain't got these problems. You dealing with these little bitches just trying to hit a lick. You dealing with a young, 20-year-old, conniving, manipulative, low-down, white.
According to him, it's the square girls, the ones outside the life, who are most likely to flip. He compared Shannon's mistake to Jesus hanging with Mary Magdalene, a woman who knew the world and didn't play dumb.
Because Jesus kept up. Named Mary Magdalene. Who got to walk with Jesus and his 12 disciples. Didn't get to hang out with the Savior. Only did.
Wild as it sounds, Charleston's point was this. Sometimes experience is protection, and Shannon messed with the wrong one. The internet didn't stay quiet. One commenter said, Shannon thought he had a pass card. He forgot he's still a black man in America. Another pointed out that the woman rejected $10 million, which made the $50 million ask feel more like a mission than a negotiation. And then there's Charleston, adding more fuel to the fire by saying he wouldn't even go on Shannon's show now.
And you were kind of hating on me. You let Gilly get over there and talk down on me. Now I don't want to come to your podcast no more. You done something to a white girl.
Charleston made it personal, but in the eyes of his supporters, he also made it real. So now we're left with the question no one wants to answer. Is Shannon Sharpe the victim of a setup? Or did he set himself up by forgetting the rules? Charleston might be loud, messy, and out of pocket. But when he says Shannon traded authenticity for fame, a lot of people quietly nod. And that's what makes this whole story hit different. It's not just about a lawsuit. It's about what happens when you think you're untouchable, until the game touches you back. If you're still here, you've seen just how deep this situation goes, and it's far from over. Was Charleston White just stirring the pot, or did he actually say what everyone else was too scared to? Let us know what you think in the comments. We want to hear your take. Drop your opinions below, like the video if you're locked in, and don't forget to subscribe, because this drama's only getting started.